Hi there everyone and welcome into this week's market update. Don't forget that any advice contained within this presentation is general only, so it isn't tailored to your particular circumstances and you need to decide for yourself whether it's appropriate to you. Okay, before I get into it today, don't forget that we are doing a webcast Thursday night to talk about opportunities in 2021. So please have a look at that. There'll be a link in today's newsletter to give you access. So don't miss that one, guys. It's going to be a good one to have a look at where our view is at for this year and a few ideas on how to trade the market through the next couple of months. Okay, so looking at our market at the moment, really over the last week, not much has happened. We've managed to push back up towards the top of this range once again. We thought we were going to break through yesterday. Futures were higher, indicating a breakout of this channel, but everything failed and pulled back anyway. Today we had another sort of good go at a push higher, just did not happen. The market is just still whipping around this sort of 67, 666 level. Until we get a true breakout, guys, it's a sort of harder environment to trade. It's become quite whippy right now. So understandably that, we're going to be patient. The trend's still up over in the medium term. You can see high peaks, higher troughs. I've got no real reason for that to change just yet. I still do suspect there'll be more upward movement in this market, considering how much stimulus is still being talked about in the near future. So we know that this market really is a combination of virus lockdowns versus stimulus and vaccine rollouts, right? And stimulus is sort of, for me, the number one. If we strip all the other noise of Trump, viruses and everything out of it, what we saw coming out of the GFC in the US was QE 1, 2, and 3, and through that whole process, the US market just kept going up and up and up. And back then you had all the talks of bubbles and overvaluations and all that sort of stuff, but the market kept going. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be pullbacks and corrections that happen in the market, and large corrections like what we saw in March on the back of bad news. I'm not saying a big pullback isn't coming. So I do believe that things are overstretched and there is a big pullback coming for the US markets and therefore us. But not yet. Okay, I just don't see it happening yet. I actually still think that they're going to inflate this bubble much larger before it pops, guys. Okay, so as long as the Fed continues talking up their balance sheet spending, as long as there's more US fiscal stimulus coming, one will think that this market's going to hold and continue to rise for now. Okay, so this is XJO right now. We're really in the short term waiting for a breakout. I still feel that breakout's going to be to the upside. Time will tell. Let's see what happens next. Now let's jump across to the S&P 500. You can see here that they're in a different sort of boat than us at the moment. They've continued to creep higher. Okay, so whilst we've been hanging sideways, they've continued to push into all-time highs. As you can see, the trend is up. With our market, our trends tend to follow the US markets, but obviously at a lesser degree. So there will always be periods of time where the US markets continue to go higher, but we hang back a little, okay? Especially in the environment at the moment with the Aussie dollar going up so strong that it has, right? So, a strong Aussie dollar always holds our market back a little bit, right? So look, that's sort of just all in all where we're at the moment. US market's uptrending. I don't need to draw the lines. Okay, you can see the high peaks, high troughs there. Not much else to say. Don't see that pulling back just yet either, guys. Okay, but there is a few big things coming that could cause that to happen, and we just always got to keep an eye on those events as they play out. So no, the 20th of January, Biden gets sworn in as President of the United States. The big question is how will Trump be leaving? Will he be leaving as an impeached president or not? Who knows? Okay, look, you know what's happening. I'm sure you've read the news. At the end of the day, I think this has created a little bit of nervousness, perhaps. Not really selling or fear selling or anything like that, but maybe a little bit of hesitation, perhaps, in buying this market this week. We've seen a little bit of weakness here. We've seen sort of 1 or 2 days of uncertainty over in the US. But all in all, at the end of the day, Biden's talked up stimulus. He's done the right thing. As long as when he's sworn in, he starts pushing through that next stimulus bill, that's all the market's going to care about. It's all about stimulus, guys. It's all about physical stimulus, and it's all about monetary stimulus. Okay, so from the Fed and from the government. Locally here, from that front, we'll hear more and more on what's going to happen with keepers and seekers allowance beyond March. But nonetheless, okay, we expect more and more RBA balance sheet spending similar to what we're seeing in the Fed to come this year as well, right? So we're expecting very accommodative central banks of the world for this year, that's for sure. So as I was just saying, more stimulus has come, absolutely, right? And that's what it's all about this year. It's about that road to recovery after COVID. It's about the Fed putting targets on higher inflation. They want to keep inflation above their normal range for a small period of time. That's their goal, right? And if they don't achieve that goal, they've got room to continue to stimulate, guys, right? So that's the big thing for the next few years that we've got to keep an eye on, is the inflation and whether they're achieving what they're set out to achieve or not, and how the market will react to that. So that for the stimulus is the bigger news here. Longer term news, medium term news. Short term, the market whips around on Trump and Biden and this and that and the other. You might see small corrections of 5%, 10%, that sort of thing. The big stuff is dependent on the stimulus, right? To have this bubble burst, you'd have to have the Fed put the brakes on, or the government to stop issuing more stimulus as well, right? So that to me is the bigger news here. It's not about the valuations of the stocks. The valuations of stocks tell me what to trade and what to invest in right now. Do I want to buy something overvalued? Do I want to buy something with value? What's the flavor of the month, right? But from a trading standpoint, the big one, the big pullback that people are talking about out there right now, for me, at this stage, I can't see it happening unless something negative happens in the stimulus space. If the Fed puts the brakes on, like I said, that's probably what's going to really knock the market around. So vaccine rollouts, look, it's all happening at the moment. Talks on these mutated strains is obviously weighing on sentiment a bit out there at the moment. Travel stocks haven't rebounded since they pulled back through December and early Jan, but have seemed to have found a bit of support at this stage. So I've got a very close eye on these travel stocks, guys, because as this vaccine becomes more and more of a reality, I feel there could be easily a push up there coming soon. So looking for some entry signals on those travel stocks. They've been beaten down a bit at the moment, and I guess as some of the countries around the world come out of winter and perhaps hopefully get control over the current spikes in world cases, I'm hoping those travel stocks will come back into favour. So I'm not in there yet, guys, obviously, but travel is a space to keep an eye on. So I'm talking about Sydney Airport, Flight Centre, Webjet, and Qantas, of course. Okay, so looking at those sort of 4 stocks for a potential opportunity in the coming month or so, right? Okay, so vaccine rollouts is quite an important one. US company reporting is probably your next big thing, guys, okay, to rock markets or rock particular stocks. It doesn't usually see a big overall market move, so looking at the S&P 500, if that's what you're trading. What you do see is big stock movement as people rotate out of one stock to another, depending on what's reporting well and what's reporting not great, or what beats expectations, what misses expectations, what stocks put out good forwards, that sort of stuff. It'll be interesting to see whether companies be willing to stick to some guidance a bit more through this next reporting season, because in the previous few, a lot of the companies haven't wanted to put a lot of guidance out these uncertain times. So it'll be interesting reporting season to keep an eye on in the US. It will give us a guide on what stocks are doing well and what are not, what are beating expectations and what are not. At this point of time, so keep an eye on that. It really kicks in a big way Friday with the US big banks, and then over the next few weeks I'll just keep rolling in and rolling in. For Australia, the reporting season doesn't really start until sort of early February. Okay, so we'll be watching out for that. Yeah, so that's where we're at, guys. Look, market's still stuck sideways, looking for a breakout. I'm assuming the breakout's going to be up, and just waiting for that to all play out. And just keeping an eye on things as they play out at the moment with Trump and with the US reporting coming in on Friday. Okay, now don't forget Thursday night, great opportunity to hear me and Caro talk about the market, look at a few different trade ideas for you to consider. We'll show you a few of the trades we've done over Christmas that have done quite well for us. So just give you an insight on what we do, give you an insight on how to trade derivatives and the way we, some of the techniques we use to pick what the market's going to do next in the short term. So Thursday night, 7 o'clock, jump on please and have a listen in. Thanks for jumping in on this video today. All right, you take care everybody, and bye for now.